Chapter 46. Let us take care of you. Summary. After Katsuki's collapse, the others are there for him. Everything was going fine, when suddenly, Katsuki collapsed. No one knew what happened. 1 second he was watching over the group, as he had been for the past couple of days, and then the next, he was passed out on the ground, shivers racking the blonde's body, drenched in a cold sweat. Mina was at his side in an instant, thankful that her nausea had subsided that morning. He looked almost frail as she moved her hand to his sickly pale forehead. She pulled her hand back on reflex when it made contact with his skin. He was burning up, like really badly. The others had gathered around by this point. "Is he okay?" Izuku asked, still clinging to Mei. "He's really sick," Mina grimly replied. "Really sick." There were soft gasps of shock from around the group. No one had noticed anything was wrong. Katsuki was acting the same as he had been since Denki first got sick. There was nothing Mina could think back on that would have clued her into his condition. But no one gets this sick from a cold out of nowhere. This must have been progressing for a day at least, but Katsuki had ignored it. "Let's get him to the nest," Ochako said with a frown. Mina and Denki picked up the unconscious boy. She couldn't help but worry about how clammy his arms were as they maneuvered him to a spot in the nest the others had quickly tidied up. She settled him into the soft blankets as Izuku grabbed a small towel. "We have to make sure he's not too sweaty," the greenette said. "His quirk makes it dangerous when he's sick like this. Normally he'd just spark off every once in a while to get rid of the excess nitroglycerin, but he can't right now, so we have to make sure we handle it for him." "We need to make sure he stays hydrated if he's sweating this much," Denki chimed in. "I remember he said something about needing extra water because of his quirk." "Oh, in that case, I'll make some more soup," Ochako said. "I'll help," Mei piped in. "You're still kinda sick." "We need to keep his fever in check, so I'll get a damp cloth for his forehead," Mina declared. Everyone nodded determinedly as they set out to complete their tasks. Katsuki had taken care of them for the past couple of days, and now they could return the favor. Katsuki was dizzy. The world felt like it was spinning, but he was lying down. Why was he lying down? Before he could follow that line of thought any further, a splitting bolt of pain shot through his head. He couldn't help the groan that left him at the feeling. "Kachan?" he heard someone say. His head was still pretty muddled, but there was only one person who called him that. Well, 2 if you count Denki when he teased Katsuki, but that didn't seem to fit with what he could piece together from the situation. "Izuku?" he managed. "Gods, why does his throat feel like sandpaper?" "Shh, it's okay, Kachan," Deku said softly. "You're really sick. Just rest." "No, that wasn't right. He was the one who was supposed to be taking care of Deku and the rest of his idiots. They were sick. He needed to make sure they were okay." "Kachan, stop trying to get up." He hadn't even realized he'd started to push himself up on shaky arms. Fuck, he couldn't support his body. He crashed softly back into the blanket nest with another groan. Delicate hands brushed his scalp, massaging his head just the way he liked. Katsuki couldn't help but melt into the sensation. All the tension he'd previously been holding fading away as gentle hands worked their way through his hair. "It's okay, Kachan," Izuku said. "You did a great job. Everyone is better. Now it's your turn to rest." Rest. That sounded nice. But he couldn't. He wasn't allowed. He had to keep working, to keep pushing. He had to be the best. Not allowed. Sick days aren't... He trailed off into the blankets. He could practically hear the way Izuku's brows scrunched together when he spoke. What do you mean? Everyone needs sick days. No. Katsuki mumbled. Hag doesn't allow sick days. Gotta keep going. Izuku's voice softened. She was wrong, Kachan. And anyway, she's not here. You're sick and you need rest. Let us take care of you. But he didn't need rest. Rest did sound really nice. The warm hands continued to card through his hair, lulling him further and further into his boneless slump. Maybe he could rest for now. Yeah, just a little while. The next time Katsuki regained consciousness, it was to the intoxicating smell of soup. The earthy flavors wafted into his nose, making his mouth water. He wasn't sure what exactly was going on, but he knew that he really wanted some of that soup. You up, Katsuki? A bubbly voice says. It takes him a few seconds to put a name to the voice, but he does, and it's... Ochako. He cracks his eyes open to be met with Ochako's small smile. He can see the sky dimming in the background with nightfall. Or is it lightning with sunrise? How long had he been out? Yep. Now that you're up, do you want some soup? I just finished it, she says sweetly. The enticing smell hits his nose once again, and he can't help but nod. Ochako carefully hands him the warm bowl of soup, along with a spoon. It takes longer than he would have liked, but eventually he's able to get his hands to stop shaking enough to get a taste. And it's good. It's not anything technically skilled, but it's just so warm and comforting. He's never had anything like this before. I hope you like it, Ochako says. I tried my best to recreate the soup my dad would always make for me when I was sick. It took a little trial and error, but I think I got pretty close. Huh. That sounded nice. Katsuki's parents had never done anything like that for him. The hag, of course, would always just not care when he was sick. Even with a fever, he would have to go to school. If he was sick, it was his fault he was too weak. If he threw up, it was his fault. Just like it was his fault he got kidnapped, because he wasn't strong enough. His dad tried to work around the hag and do what he could, but it was never enough. But here Ochako was, taking care of him like her family took care of her, and it was nice. He felt so warm and safe. After he finished the soup, she tucked him back into the blanket pile. So warm and safe. Before he knew what was happening, his consciousness had started to drift back into oblivion. Katsuki was in and out of consciousness for a while. He'd really fucked himself up this time, huh? This weird space plague did not appreciate being ignored. Even though he was pretty out of it when he woke up, there was one thing he had remembered. Someone was always with him. The next time he woke up, Izuku was there, checking his temperature and replacing the damp rag that was on his forehead. Once the boy had realized he was awake, a soothing hand carded through his hair. The human touch was nice. It made some part of his brain purr with appreciation, until sleep took him once more. The next time, Denki was there, rattling off stories. He'd been talking before Katsuki had woken up, so he could only assume that the electric blonde had been going on for a while. It was nice to just close his eyes and let Denki's words drift through the quiet air until he fell asleep once again. Things blurred together for a little while, but the next time he remembered waking up, Mei was there. She handed over a tea she had made from some local plants. It was a touch too bitter, but the warmth was soothing on his sore throat. Her actions weren't as naturally fluid as the others, but he could tell she was trying. When he returned to consciousness for good, Mina was there. Her bubbliness was toned down a tad, which Katsuki's headache appreciated. She gave him a cold glass of water and insisted on rearranging the blankets so he'd be more comfortable. He tried to protest, moving the blankets himself and claiming he was fine, but she responded with, "Nope, when you're sick, you only deserve the best." That was a weird sentiment to hear. It was always the opposite of what he'd been told his whole life, and his immediate instinct was to disagree, but it was nice. It was nice to rest when he was sick. Was this what normal families were like when someone got sick? He liked it. So, as he fought off the last of the space plague, he didn't try to brush off his family's help.